Everyone, and welcome back to Double Sleep MTG. I'm Guy,
I'm Taylor.
and this podcast we're gonna be going over Taylor's hot fucking run out at SCG Denver. To my knowledge, the largest CDH tournament in SCG. It was what 117 players,
117.
and this man went undefeated until the finals on Malcolm and Kedis. Is this the
Yeah.
best deck in the format?
No.
Oh, okay, so you're just
Furthest
that
from.
good.
No, I think I just ran hot, had some good luck.
You're just that good of a player.
Yeah,
Somebody's got to carry
sure.
the team.
Depends
But
on the
yeah,
day.
before we dive into how your rounds went, did you do anything fun else while you were at the tournament, or were you just there for the day?
I did. I got some stuff signed by Daniel Frazier, got to talk to a few of the other artists, got to see a bunch of people I haven't seen in years. Got to hang out with Shauna for a bit. That was pretty fun. Got to goof off, and I picked up a brand new volcanic island while I was there. So that was nice.
Nice. So I didn't know Dan Frazier was going to be there. Did you get him to alter your Mox Diamond again?
I did. I
I
did. Yeah, he added a nice border to the diamond itself. And
wonder where else that's
for
going
like
to
the
end up at.
yeah, he'll add on more. I'm sure there'll be more things to draw, some minor things to add on.
But from my understanding, this tournament was a pretty stacked one. You had a lot of notable names in the CDH community out there in the Colorado area. That's where a lot of them like to hang out. First, like that in the Pittsburgh area.
Hmm.
So it's not like it was an easy tournament for you. I wouldn't think it is, but there were some solid names up there. So like, and how many of them did you play against?
I really only saw Max in round three. Let me see if I saw anybody else of note. The TNK player that I ran into in round one is a very good player. I know that he won one of the last 1K or 2Ks recently. And then the Narset player that I ran into in round two, he is also a big Narset deck.
Was it
He is
Jacob
not the main.
Nugan?
It
I think his
it
name.
was Jacob's deck, not Jacob.
Okay.
Someone borrowed Jacob's deck, and I got to play against it. Played against Jacob quite a few times. So
Okay.
very,
I
very good
assumed you had
deck.
known him because like it's one of your might as well be a local.
Yeah, yeah, one of the other locals. And then I ran into a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Vick. He is a pretty well-known ROG Thras player.
Yeah, he's
Uh, it,
kind of off in his own world in the rock thrash community. He's
mhm,
out there blazing a different trail, which I got to respect.
yeah, I did run into him in the semifinals. Yeah, he was on some weirder cards, but put up a great fight. It was a fun game.
Nice, nice. So you were playing Malcolm Kedis. Unfortunately, for those who are looking at the EDH Top 16 breakdown and trying to follow along with this, for some reason, SCG likes to abide by Spice Rack and Melee, and we all know how great those websites are. Well, mainly Melee. I can't really speak on Spice Rack. I've used it once, but unfortunately, Taylor's deck is not populating on there. However, it will be linked
The
down in the
deck
description below.
the deck is up there. It just did not populate the commanders. If you click on my name, you can still see my deck list. It just shows Malcolm
Oh,
and Kedis in the 99 or in the
yeah.
100, I should say.
Okay. Yeah, no, he's
So
right.
yeah, you can still get access to it.
All right, so it's linked there as well. It just looks weird because it's blank, but it is Malcolm Kedis. He's up there in second place. Let's before we dive into the rounds, let's look at this tournament breakdown. Uh, you got your usual suspects up there. There were five. Actually, this one's kind of surprising me. There were only five entries for Blue Farm up there with two top cuts. There were only three entries for Timna Thrasios. Out here on the East Coast, those are the two most popular decks. There were
Mhm.
three entries for Rock Thras with two top cuts. I guess Arkham Dax was the best deck in the format because there were two entries and two top cuts.
Yeah, yeah, they made
Congrats
it
to
into the
those
top.
people.
Uh,
Then you got one Kennen, one Sisay with one top cut. Uh, then it's really a bunch of one ofs. It looked to be a very diverse meta. There was
yeah, we
one
ran into
person
some really
on
weird.
Deadpool. What'd you
There's
say?
a guy on Deadpool. There was one guy on Gonti. There was another gentleman by the name of Jonathan Foster who was playing Mrs. Bumbleflower.
Yep.
Uh, there there were some weird decks there. Ian was playing Tiamat. Um, so yeah, we got
Nekuzar,
to see some
Urza.
really. Oh, we don't want to look at that Nekuzar list. I don't want to
Why?
talk about it. It has a chains in it and only one counterspell. It was a weird
Okay.
list.
So you will get those at SCG cons, since they are proxyless. You'll get people, your random people that are sees a tournament and they want turn for commander, not maybe not fully understanding what C that really TDH is at that point. But we always welcome people to hop in, and I think SCG is a great place for that. You get a variety of decks as well as a variety of player level.
Yeah. Yeah, but what's cool is for myself, I ran into some real decks the entire day. I got to run my deck against what I would consider to be some of the more common decks. Each pod did have kind of an oddity in it, not something that I wouldn't expect to see at a tournament play. In round one, I ran into oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to remember his name, Dragonstorm. I wrote down Dragonstorm. It's the guy that when you lose life, your spells cost that much less.
Oh, Rowan,
Ran into that. Yeah, Rowan in game one.
that deck's pretty
In
hot.
game two, ran into Narset, which you don't see very often anymore. In game three, we ran into Aranis and Street Urchin. And then in game five, or well, I should say game six, I ran into Stella Lee. So I had kind of an oddity at each one of my tables.
Especially for Stella being at your high end table that late in the round or that
Hmm.
late in the tournament. That good for them.
Yeah, he did very well. Yeah, he played very, very well. Um, But yeah, if I guess that's a good transition to kind of go into the round breakdowns. So round one, I was playing against a Crick, a TNK, Dragonstorm, and then myself in fourth seat.
That was Rowan
So
for those who didn't catch that.
yeah, Rowan for that third seat. And he's a very common Rowan player. He's actually another local here in Colorado. I've played against him before. I've lost to him before. Dragonstorm just kind of does its thing.
That deck will sneak up on you, man.
Um,
I've definitely got burned by it before.
Yeah. Notable things that I took down after the game. I stopped the TNK player from winning with a Spikefield hazard. Uh, he uh he he Adnaz really deep. He had a Lotho in play. He put some spells on the stack. His Lotho trigger taking him down from 3 to 2. As the table went around, it got to my turn. I promised him that I would not send two spells and kill him. So I sent just the one spell, which was just a Malcolm pass. It went to the Crick player's
So
turn. Crick was
before we
not able
continue,
to
why'd you
do.
make that deal? What was going on for you to need to make that deal?
So Dragonstorm was popping off.
Okay,
He had
so
sent a Dragonstorm with a Past in Flames right behind it. So the Dragonstorm was countered. The Past in Flames was going to allow him to Dragonstorm again. We really had to stop him there, and the only person that had any piece of interaction was TNK with an Adnaz.
so you
And
needed another
unfortunately,
player.
yeah, unfortunately, his Adnaz went really, really deep, taking him all the way down to 3. He ended up stopping at 3. And as it passed through the table, his own Lotho took him down to 2. And as it went to his turn, he cast one spell. I cast Spikefield Hazard in response to what I believe was a GA. I think it was a voice of victory.
Okay, yeah.
And I cast a Spikefield Hazard, doing 1 damage to his face, which then brought him to I can't cast a second spell or my Lotho kills me. I was able to get back to my turn, cast a Reckless Fireweaver. That line was stopped, and then I ended up winning the game in probably one of the weirdest ways possible. The Crick player was killed by just losing life to Crick, but I had to steal a Goldspan Dragon and then copy a Goldspan Dragon to swing at the Rowan player to kill him.
So you just threw
Uh,
beats. You didn't even need the
yeah,
additional mana production.
no, we ended up winning it through beats. It was a very odd first round.
Did they end up going to time, or was it a quick one since it went to beats, or
No,
what?
no, it I think we won that round with like 20 minutes left. It was very odd, but I was definitely able to get up and kind of walk around and see what everybody else in my group was doing. So that was kind of interesting. Yeah,
And
but that
that
was
group, and that group you're referring to was the Iron Line crew out there.
yeah, we
Yeah.
had our Iron Lion crew, myself, Torrance, and Christian all showed up from the Iron Line. And then we go into round two. Round two was kind of a fun one. It was TNK in first seat, who mulliganed to 2. That was a notable thing for that game. Myself in second seat, Sisse in third seat, and Narset in fourth seat. Some notable things that I took down for this one: Narset LED'd on turn, I believe turn 2 for Narset. So dumped whole hand to cast Narset. Narset did resolve, and after that, Sisse was able to Deadpool the Narset. Hard cast, hard cast to Deadpool.
Oh, I got,
Uh,
gotta pull this back up for those who don't know what Deadpool does yet.
yeah, he was able to Deadpool the Narset because Deadpool specifically does not target.
As Deadpool enters the battlefield, you may exchange his text box and another creature's text box. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 3 life. It has pay 3, sacrifice this creature. Each other player draws a card. But it's the
Yeah,
exchange text box part.
yeah, the exchange text box part definitely took the Narset player just completely out of the
Oh,
game.
yeah.
And as
It's
I
a deck
said
that can't
earlier,
function without its commander.
yeah, and the TNK player he kept a decent two. His two was literally land tutor, and he was able to land tutor into like a Chrome Mox. Then he sent that into a Mystic Remora, which then allowed him to keep going for the rest of the game. He did end up building back into a board state, and at some point I was able to jam a Blasphemous Act and blow up everything on Sisay's board, everything on Narset's board, everything on my board, which was really just a Kedis at the time that I was using to ping and draw one card. But in order to do this, yeah, it was the only play that I had left. I ended up blast acting, blowing up everything in the table. It got back around the table to me, and I was able to put a win on the stack. That was a pretty nice one. It was a pretty clean game, and I think it was over within about 30 minutes. The
Nice.
game
Just
was pretty fast.
nice and clean, push for a win after the board got locked out and you reset it a bit from the way it
Yep.
sounds. And pretty swift.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it was smooth. It was definitely smooth. And
2-0
then
going into round three. And I remember you calling me after round three and you saying it was a pretty notable game the way you won.
round three is probably the most notable game that I have, probably in my career of playing Magic. Honestly, I think it was probably one of the nicest stacks that just worked out in my favor. So round three, it's Loot in first seat, Rog Thras in second seat, myself in third seat, and Aranus and Street Urchin in fourth seat. And for those of you that
A
don't
hell of a
know,
pod.
Aranus and Street Urchin is a nightmare of a deck for me, and it's piloted by a good friend of mine, Dan, who, as soon as I saw him sit at the table, I went, "Oh shit!" I was like, "This is gonna be a tough game." But it was very, very fun. Early in the game, Dan jammed a Vexing Bauble, and when that Vexing Bauble came down, it took me off of all three of my pieces of interaction in my hand. I had a Deflecting Swat, a Flare of Duplication, and a Mindbreak Trap. Those were the three cards left in my hand on the turn that I won. The fourth card in my hand was a Mana Vault. So what happened in this game is earlier on there was a piece of interaction disclosed by the loot player in first seat that he had a Force of Will. Second seat went for his tutor for a man, the new tutor, a
Nature's
nature's rhythm.
Rhythm. Yep, Nature's
Believe
Rhythm.
that's what it's called. Yeah, a nature's rhythm for two. Got himself a Cloud of Fairies. Was getting ready to set up the line to keep going, and when he put the second nature's rhythm on the stack is when I looked at the player to my left and I said, "Hey, now is the time to crack the Vexing Bauble. We have to stop this
How much was
in
that one
order to
for?
stop him."
How much was
Uh,
that?
the
That's
second the second one was for exactly three.
what's he going to
And
get? Ewit? Probably
I believe
Spellseeker.
it was an Ewit at this point. He already had the snap in his hand. So I
Okay, it
believe
was
it was the
definitely
Ewit.
Ewit then. Yeah.
Yeah. And Gaia's Cradle was already on board. It was
Yep.
just a setup for a win. So I convinced the Aranus player to sack the Vexing Bauble so that the first seat loot could cast his Force of Will. Well, what happened is first seat loot cast Force of Will targeting the Nature's Rhythm. Then the Rogthras player cast his Fierce Guardianship to protect it. And in response, I Flare of Duplication the Nature's Rhythm so that I could get a Nature's Rhythm on my own. It
Where's it?
resolved, and
So,
I
what all can Nature's
oh
Rhythm go grab in your deck at three, Taylor?
oh, it's just a simple Glinthorn Buccaneer. I I get myself a Glinthorn Buccaneer, which the table says okay, not a problem, and then I allow the Force to counter or the Fierce to counter the Force, which just checks the table one more time if they have any more interaction, which they don't. The Nature's Rhythm goes back on the stack, and I respond with a Mindbreak Trap. Mindbreak trapping the Nature's Rhythm off the stack, exiling that, leaving them with one more counterspell. He did throw one more counterspell at me, and I just, like I said, had that D swat and was able to D swat it away.
Had that perfect
Um,
package.
Yep. And at that point, he was able to just kind of present a little bit of a dirtle, which was just, Thrasios activation twice, hope to find something. Wasn't able to find anything off the Thrasios activation. and unfortunately had to pass. And then I was able to just send a Glinthorn Buccaneer swing. And in doing so, I was able to, before damage was even dealt, activate my Glinthorn Buccaneer at least twice because I did not cast either of the two spells that I had, which was that Mana Vault and whatever the next card was that I had drawn for the turn. So I had two activations on the stack, which was really nice. Another notable thing that I did do that game, I cloned loot with a imposter mech, which was able to draw me three more cards, able to bolt a displacer kitten off the board, which kept us from losing to loot early on, and would have made me even more mana to keep going in that same turn.
That sounds pretty hot. Even though you, without a displacer kit, you can't really reset it and use it a lot. But even then, just getting, an ancestral recall and a lightning bolt off of a 2 mana clone is pretty fucking hot.
Yeah, yeah, it's extremely helpful. The ancestral recall is the more important portion of it, honestly. Drawing three cards, my deck is very, very heavily leaned into drawing cards. If you look at my list, I play a lot of curiosity effects. I play a Niv Mizzet, I play a Nezahal, I went pretty deep in the tank and I was playing a combat research, which is a one draw, but gives Malcolm plus one and ward one,
I
which is
saw
very
that.
important.
I've also seen a lot of people. It's a curiosity replacement. Or at least that's what I see a lot of people play it as a curiosity replacement. But I see you're playing it in tandem with curiosity and tandem lookout.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately, this one only will draw you one card because it's when combat damage is dealt. It's damage
Oh,
is dealt,
okay.
not combat damage. So unfortunately, you'll only draw the one card. But the more important portion is the ward one. Being able to give Malcolm that ward one actually it comes in handy quite often where he's protected because he is a lightning rod for removal. But those are the only things that I would say were extremely notable from that game. I
You,
think it was over on turn three or turn four.
you just got to get an altar of Malcolm as Icarus.
Yeah, yeah, flew way too close to the sun, way too often.
So it sounds like three nice and quick wins, going pretty efficient, just
Yeah,
cruising through this tournament. How many rounds was it
yeah.
total? So you said seven,
It was a
or was it
seven
five
round
and cut?
tournament. Yeah, it's five and cut to top 16. There were two rounds that were absolutely brutal, and I will talk to you about them now. Round four and round five, man, those were just a battle for me. Sitting down for the at the table and saying ID is a hard thing to do. We ID'd both round four and round five. Everybody at the table was already in top 16. No point in even trying to play the
Yeah.
games out.
At
But
that point,
what
you're
sucked,
sitting in top seat, right?
yes, I was sitting in top seat at that point, guaranteed first seat for the tournament. But what sucked about it is round four and round five happened to have two of the longest rounds for the entire tournament. Round four, there was an 82-minute final turn.
Final turn,
It
not
was
round.
yeah, final turn, 82
Jeez.
minutes. Yeah, they went 30 minutes after because of a judge call, and then they went another 50 minutes after just for that final turn.
At least you had time to
So
get
it
dinner.
yeah, it was rough. I took a nap.
You
And
had
then
two
round
hours.
five, yeah. And then round five went the exact same. Round five went another, I think, 45 or 50 minutes on top of the 75 minutes allotted. So it was absolutely brutal. Those two rounds alone added on an extra few hours. And that unfortunately led us into what was probably one of the latest top 16s I played in a long time.
Which is a shame because I
Um,
do like that SCG starts at 9 a.m. because it
yeah.
makes for a better tournament. You actually get done with the tournament and have something to do for the rest of the day if you're not brain dead exhausted, which you're
Mhm.
usually going to be after 7 hours of Magic.
Well, top 16 started at about, I want to say about 8 p.m. We
Damn.
started the top
Usually the
16.
tournaments are over by then.
Yeah. And top 16 went all the way until almost 11. So it was rough for the final games. But regardless, our final game was very, very good. Myself in first seat, as we know, was a big bonus. I got to sit in first seat, go first. Stella was in second seat,
This is
Rogthras
a
in
semis,
third.
right?
I'm sorry.
This is semis, right? You said finals.
This is semifinals. Yeah,
Okay,
this was
cool.
semifinals. Myself in first seat, Stella in second seat, Rogthras in first seat, and Loot in fourth seat. Same Loot player from my previous game on round three. So I got to see him twice in this day, which was
Nice.
kind of
Congrats to them.
interesting. Yeah, super, super great job. Seth did a great job. He was a really cool guy. Very happy I got to meet him. Super, super nice. But I would say one of the best things about this opening hand that I had was it was absolutely bonkers. My opening hand was land Mox Amber into Mox Opal with a Ragavan. So I was able to produce, I believe, 5 mana on turn two. So my turn one was Ragavan. My turn two was Malcolm and Kedis with a either a deflecting swat or a fierce guardianship behind. I just had the right hand for that game. This game ended up going extremely long. There was a lot of interaction, a lot of attempts. The loot player attempted to win twice. The Rog Thras player never really attempted to win, but put some pretty scary stuff on the board where we had to kind of deal with his board state. The Stella player attempted to win twice, and then I think I put about 4 wins on the stack as this tournament or as this went around
Damn.
multiple times. In the final turn, I was able to do what was referred to as the cleanest Niv Mizzet line that the judge had ever seen because he was sitting over my shoulder the whole time, watching everything I was doing. But I had a Niv Mizzet with a curiosity effect on him. I was able to Niv Mizzet line two of the players, but I only had about 30 cards left in my deck at the time because I'd cast so many spells that turn, and I was brain freezed for I believe the count was 30. So I put 30 cards in my bin, and I only was left with about 30 or so cards in my library. With that said, I was able to leave 4 cards in my deck, kill 2 of the players with Niv Mizzet triggers, and then go down to a Malcolm, Reckless Fireweaver, and Artificial Evolution effect to put the win on the stack.
And just
That
pivoted
was
into that.
I did. I had to because I had absolutely no other way to win. I couldn't loot my graveyard because, ironically, the very first card from the Brain Freeze was my Underworld Breach.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask was did you breach it back out or do you run any shufflers in the deck? I don't think you do.
No, no shufflers in the deck, just the breach as the backup. Gratefully, I was able to find the other cards to find a win and stop these guys from beating me. But I had to, I think we worked our way through like 13 or 14 triggers
That's
before starting to resolve the stack. So there was a lot of stuff going on. It was very interesting and an extremely fun game.
which is
Definitely
great
taught
because
me a lot.
for some reason I found that once we get to the higher pods, usually the final cuts, people don't fight as much and they just jam for some reason. But I know you're not in that boat. You will prioritize interaction over a win con in the top cuts, which I
Yep.
respect and like I wish more people would do because I know myself I've been burned by it so many times.
Yeah, I try to keep as much interaction as possible. I'm of the understanding that like CDH is a game meant for people to try to go fast. And my entire thing is let me throw one piece of interaction at the correct point to stop you entirely. And I was able to do that in I would say all 4 of the games that I've described so far. I was able to throw at least one piece of interaction that just completely stops someone. Ironically, the Spikefield Hazard came up twice in that tournament. In game one, it killed a TNK player, and in game two, it killed a Rograk because I was playing in a teamer only pod. It was teamer versus is it. So it was kind of an odd pod. There's no bowmasters, no notion thieves that I need to worry
Mm.
about. So I just killed a Rograk early with a Guy's Cradle on the board. And it ended up actually being a very important play.
It
It slowed
is.
the Rograk player down by at least 2 turns.
I didn't think that was as a recent Rock Thrash player, I didn't think that just taking off Rog was so critical to the deck until I tried to mess around and convert my Rog Thrash to a Rog Jessica. Just killing Rograg one time means so much when the only lands they have is Cradle. Like, because there's so many times you can just keep a hand because you have Cradle and Rog and you think you're good, but the moment it's gone, you're kind of screwed. I do want to note in
Yeah.
there that there seems to be a mix up on EDH Top 16. I believe that was Seth Greenwald you said was in that semifinals pod, but it has him at 23rd place, or at least that's the first loot I see on the list. So
Yeah, he was in the top 16 with me. I believe it was Seth Greenwald on loot. Don't know if that's a mistake on their system or what, but yeah, that's who was in our final pod. Again, super nice guy. Very first time I've ever met him. We'll most definitely play with him again. Got all of his contact information. Very excited to play with him some more.
sweet, man.
Super smart player. And then we go into the final. Final pods started at 11 p.m. There was some unfortunate situations that happened with it. One of our players had to drop because he unfortunately had to go home. And that left us in a 3-player pod with Malcolm Kedis, which, if not many of you know, Malcolm Kedis
Kind of
just
struggles.
gets beat up in a 3-player pod. It struggles. Yeah, you lose a treasure every turn. You lose a draw every turn if you have any of your curiosity effects.
It's got that tivit
It makes
struggle.
your glint. Yeah, it makes your Glinthorn Buccaneer line not even work functionally. The problem is if their life totals are different, you cannot kill them, or you can kill one of them, but you're not going to be able to kill the other. So things get a little bit sketchy at that point. Typically, people's life totals are pretty similar, but when you're playing with black players versus playing with like a teamer player, a black player is going to shock themselves and hurt themselves a lot more and their life totals are just going to be so much different. And so that's kind of what happened in that final game. It was myself in first seat, Jason in second seat with Blue Farm
That was the
on
Jason
Turbo
from Critical
Necro.
ADH, I believe, right?
Yes, Jason from Critical EDH. Yep. And then Evan Pierce in third seat on Kinnan. I kept a hand that I thought was going to be good enough. It was a do nothing turn one, hold a swan song and a lightning bolt on turn one. Hopefully that's enough, which it was not, unfortunately, into a turn two Malcolm, which was then going to do a turn two Kedis swing and do some more. The turn two Malcolm just, unfortunately was all the hand was going to do. I could have sat on the swan song maybe one more turn. And in reality, I was kind of hoping like, okay, maybe the Kinnan player kept some interaction for the blue farm. And in reality, neither of us did. We kind of both had our own game plan of try to go a little bit faster, take that one greedy turn. And the blue farm player was able to go turn two Dark Rit Necropotence. And his Dark Rit Necro, he necroed for 10, which brought him down to like third, I want to say like 33 or 30, whatever, maybe 30 exactly,
I was about to say, how
is
do you
where
go
his life
up in
total was
life for
at.
10?
He would have been somewhere in that ballpark for life total. I brought his life total down, passed, just sculpted a nice hand, and then the Kinnan player presented more creatures and more mana, and passed to me myself. I went played another land. Unfortunately, had a tap land. Had I not had a tap land, maybe I would have had some more, but it's the only tap land I run in the deck, which is the Sulfur Falls or something like that.
I think Super Falls,
The
was it the
Surveil land.
Surveil land?
Yeah, it's the
The
Surveil land.
Rakdos one?
So
Oh, no, not
uh,
Rakdos. The Is it one?
the is it one? Yeah.
Yeah. Sulphur
So
Springs is the Rakdos Painland. I don't know what the Is it Surveil land is called.
I can't remember what it is either. But played that. Unfortunately, was able to jam a
Thunder
Kedis
Pass.
behind it, swing Malcolm. Which this is one of those situations where now I'm at a disadvantage. I only make two treasures, and then I make the decision to rather than cast some more spells and maybe progress my board, I'm going to sit on that Swan Song and a Lightning Bolt, and I pass over to the Blue Farm player who just goes land pass prior to end step, Necros, and he Necros all the way down to 4. And he made an amazing argument for it. I tried to convince him to go to 3 so I could lightning bolt him in response to him picking up the cards. I tried.
You silver tongued bastard.
He went to 4. Unfortunately, his argument was amazing. He said, "Look, I need to go to 4 because I need 2 life for a vampiric tutor and 1 life for a force of will." So that left him at 1 life exactly. I put him on have exactly that. So in response to his necro trigger to pick up his necroed cards, I lightning bolted him in the face. This put him down to 1 and made it a little bit more difficult, but he was still able to present a win in that end step. Unfortunately, yeah, just so much mana, so much to do. He tried to present a Cabal ritual that would have probably made him more mana, that would have made it even easier, and the Kinnan player enduranced him in response, taking him down to no cards engraved. So the Cabal Ritual only made 3 mana versus 5. And unfortunately, that 3 mana was just enough because he had a Rite of Flame that he cast, and the Rite of Flame saw my Rite of Flame from my turn one,
So
or
I
my
know that
turn
you
two, Malcolm.
I know that wouldn't have mattered now that you already had the cards in hand, but you never just threw the Swan Song out there because you already had all the counter spells in
Uh,
hand.
no, we ended up throwing the Swan Song in his other turn, or in his end step. I ended up throwing the Swan Song at some more mana production, and it just there was like 3 more counter spells in his hand at that point. There was nothing to throw the Swan Song at. Unfortunately, by that time, maybe if I would have sat on it for one more turn and played a little bit more defensive, but in reality, it was almost midnight. I was so freaking tired. I was just done. And to be honest, as an apology to both of those players, I was so frustrated with the fact that we had a player drop and I went down to a 3-player pod for my finals. I was like, man, I went undefeated all day and now I have to play my final round with my hand tied behind my back. So that was, a little unfortunate, and it definitely frustrated the ever loving shit out of me. But, good sport, it was still a great game, still came in second place. Awesome title to take away, won $500. So pretty exciting.
Nonetheless, we can't diminish the fact that, as you said, you went undefeated up until the finals. Congrats on to everyone who made top 16 as well. But like it was a hot run on the largest CDH tournament that an SCG has ever had, to my knowledge, and one of the larger ones in general, for that matter, especially the largest non-proxy tournament. So no one can really diminish the achievement that you made out there, man.
Yeah, it was a fun one. I was really excited. Like I said, had a ton of fun with everybody there. Ironically, there was another Malcolm Kedis list there, and it was Shauna. And Shauna was playing a polymorph version of Malcolm Kedis. I still haven't seen it yet. Tune in with us soon. She will be recording with us on Sunday.
Yeah. Looking forward to having her on here as well. Speaking of future stuff that's coming up, we got a couple large events that are coming up. The first one of note being the Land Go Black Lotus Invitational that Team Double Sleeved is sponsored by. So absolutely love being part of this growing community that's quickly becoming a household name in the CDH community. Not only is there the Black Lotus Invitational, there's a 10K open running right alongside it. On Friday, there's no ban list tournaments. There's LCQs. Every 16 players, there's going to be a 2 round single elim LCQ. So you got plenty of chances to get in on that Black Lotus on Saturday if that's what you want to. If not, just go out there and play in the open. As not just us, there's going to be tons of other channels out there. There's going to be artists out there. One artist in particular, I forget their name. However, it is the artist for Timna. And to my knowledge, she hardly ever goes out to events. So if you want to get your Timna signed, this will be the place to do it. Or send one of your buddies with your Timna or have them pick up one out there. But that's going to be a hot commodity out there. And I'm pretty sure their line's going to be long.
I believe she's from overseas, right?
I think she is. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely excited about that. That is on May 23rd through the 25th. Team Double Sleeve will be out there with a bunch of our other friends as well. We just booked our Airbnb and we're excited. It's my first time out in Nashville.
Yeah, we'll see you guys there. Really exciting. It'll be the first time that all four of us are at an event.
It is, as well as there's going to be a lot of shit talking in that house with the people who are present. But that's just how we get along. If we're talking shit about you, you know we love you. So after that, the next large event that we plan on going to is the Pittsburgh Steel City Spectacular 20K in August, I believe it is. We're also a part of that. The website will be linked down below. All the advertisements are up for it. Once again, there's no banless CDH. It's a $20,000 tournament, the largest prize pool of a CDH event to date. And it is running right alongside the Top Deck Invitational. So two large events out there in the same hotel. It's going to be run by Baldy and a bunch of other, your favorite judges in the community. So I can't wait to
Don't
see
forget
everyone out there
double
as
sleeve
well.
10.
Yeah. So the double sleeve 10 code, thank you for reminding me, that is for the Land Go event. So be sure to use that at checkout. Double sleeve 10. It'll be up here across the screen. To put that in at checkout, you get 10% off your purchase. We are absolutely ecstatic about being a part of this, and we're looking forward to seeing everyone out there.
Love the community. Love the fact that we're getting, getting to meet everybody. And I can't tell you guys how often I get to talk to people about random stuff that just leads into great relationships and friendships. And it all comes from Magic the Gathering. So
That's
I'm nothing but appreciative to everybody here.
That's my favorite part about going to these cons, man, is just meeting all the people out there. You met 4 or 5 different channels out there, and then MagicCon Chicago is the best example of it. It honestly felt like working 14-hour days, but it was an absolute blast with the amount of people we got to meet and the amount of relationships and bonds we got to build while we were out there, and get to make some new friends and see some old ones, and get to see where everybody's coming the last year. It's absolutely incredible feeling.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had a great time in Chicago, and we'll definitely be coming back.
Absolutely. Well, Taylor, you got anything else for the people? Do you have any pointers for people who are looking to go take down an SCG Con?
Oh man, don't listen to what everybody tells you. Everyone will always tell you to look at the top deck and check the best decks in the meta. Play what's good to you. Play what you're good at. Play what you know. As anybody that knows me well enough knows, I am a Malcolm player at heart. I have played every Malcolm variant that there is, and I just know the deck very well. That allows me to, finagle my way into wins. But that's the only thing I can tell you. Play what you love. Don't play what you're told to play.
If you don't love it, you're not going to want to sit there and play it for 5 to 7 hours. And if you
Yeah,
do, you're going to probably not enjoy it. But
agreed.
I've been a firm believer in that as well, especially since my 60 card days and yours as well. If you're not enjoying the deck, you're not going to want to play with it. You might do well, but you might not enjoy it. So it's not going to be a consistent thing. Well, we don't want to
Yep.
hold y'all up any longer. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Congrats to Taylor on getting second place at the SCG Con Denver. And congrats to everyone who made top 16 and grinded out that day. See you all next time.
Bye, guys.
All right, everyone, and welcome to Double Sleep MTG. I'm Guy.
I'm Taylor.
And this, fuck, I already fucked it up.
Take two.
Take two. Everyone, welcome, but no, take three.